Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Attack on Titan anime review. This one's going to be for Season 4, Episode 7, which is called Assault. It's kind of crazy to think we're already on Episode 7. It felt like the season just started like a week or two ago, but it's really going by quite quickly, actually. So yeah, once again, if this is your first time maybe watching one of my videos, I am anime only with Attack on Titan, so I don't know what happens in the manga. But anyway, let's get into this episode. This was a really strong episode, probably one of the best ones we've had in the season so far. Big action, lots of, I suppose, conclusions in a way to fights, just big things happening that feel important, that it definitely feels like we're in sort of the final season, the final couple of arcs, because yeah, just the scale of this battle that we have. Like, how many Titan shifters are involved here? I suppose 6 by the time Armin comes in, I think. And you're getting like the Car Titan gets like completely wrecked. The Beast Titan kind of gets taken out like it's not really anything important, almost. It doesn't really get to do as much damage as it typically does. Levi just comes in and takes Zeke out. But you, of course, still have suspicions about Zeke. In that I don't believe they really showed him actually like killing any of the scouts in this episode. I assume someone got hit with the usual sort of scatter of rubble that he does, but they didn't show it in that way. He seemed to just cause a lot of damage, and then was suddenly taken out by surprise. And I think that's probably the main success of this episode. It was just getting across that skilled and experienced scouts with ODM gear can really cause chaos for everyone. That if not for Pieck coming in with her Panzer unit with the sort of machine gun attachments, we wouldn't have lost half as many scouts as we did in this episode. So that was a kind of interesting point, in that just the maneuverability there, the fact that they don't really have a lot of fear going up against individual Titans all that much, is a huge deal here. And especially when you have the likes of Levi and Mikasa, who can basically take down one of the 9 Titans on their own, you have a huge advantage in battle, in that who is it? Porco looks away for like a second. He loses concentration for just a second, forgets about Mikasa being in the area, and suddenly, boom, both of his Titan's legs are gone, and he's completely at the mercy of Eren. Just things like that, where they're making clear, big decisions in these fight scenes to be like, yep, the Beast Titan just gets defeated. The Car Titan just gets defeated here. Obviously, we get the sort of swing in battle, in that at the end of the last episode, it was like, the scouts are like kind of fully in control, except you have the background setup of you know that the Car Titan's going to come in, and you know that Marley are organizing their reinforcements to come in. But the scouts had a counter plan for that, in that Jean was the one who organizes, I suppose, the attack against Pieck and leads to her defeat, and then Armin comes in, and of course, roughly, I suppose, as expected, how do you take out the sort of reinforcement fleet and people surrounding the city? You blow it up, and so we get the activation of Armin. I suppose it's our first time getting to see Armin use the Colossal Titan power by making the whole bomb transformation go off, and it's beautifully animated the way they show like an incredible explosion, and then the lighting that they did to sort of show almost like the radiation coming across like from the explosion crater, and just the Colossal Titan walking through that rubble. But it's Armin. It's so weird that like this is the only reason Armin survived the last season. But he is the Colossal Titan now. One of the more powerful Titans who can do something like this. That, everyone freaked out when Eren burst through that building and killed all those people. But Armin in this moment, like, just, like, quadruple plus that killed the amount of people Eren did. So just the word that comes to mind with this episode is just sort of brutal in the way everything just happened. You had scouts getting shot out of the sky, the brutal way Pieck's Panzer team was taken out. Sasha, of course, sniping one of them, and in the sort of distraction of that, Pieck attacks, and then Jean comes in, slides underneath, gets a shot to the eye, and then everyone just comes in and blows them up, basically. Just a really just clear cut. Yeah, this Titan doesn't have a lot of defenses, hence why they armor it up, and Pieck just gets wrecked and is on the verge of. They sort of get across like she's on the verge of death, even though she's a Titan shifter. That this is going to take a long time to recover from. So, this is kind of the explanation with like the Titan shifters is that like if you injure them enough, their power sort of has to focus on keeping the shifter alive, that they can't use their powers. Which is interesting in the same episode that we see Eren go into, I believe this is the third Attack Titan he's transformed into. So that's definitely showing some sort of stamina training from Eren, that he's able to do that and still be pretty much as strong as he was initially. So that all was really, really cool the way it worked out. So yeah, a lot of this episode focused on the sort of last attack of the Warhammer Titan, but Eren dodges it. He blocks it with his hardening on his hand, and he notes that like he's holding on to the crystal with Lara Tiber in it. But as I speculated about in the last episode, he can't bite through it because it's the super strong hardening crystal. But he blocks one of the Jaw Titan's attacks with the crystal, and the Jaw Titan slices through it with its claws. So Eren puts two and two together and is like, this is how I do it. That's the power of the Jaw Titan. It's not just like a sort of smallish but really quick and surprisingly strong Titan. No, the strength is in. The reason it's called the Jaws Titan is because those jaws can pretty much bite through anything. And similarly, its claws can also seemingly swipe through anything, including this crystal. So Eren uses that to his advantage to basically crack the crystal that Lara Tiber is in apart, like completely. It was really sort of brutal again the way that this happened, in that it shatters, and it's not that it shatters like around her, it like shatters including her inside, and so obviously all that's left is crystal and blood. So Eren does consume the Warhammer Titan, I guess by consuming some of her spinal fluid, I guess, was in there with the blood, and that's how he did it. Again, it had to be, I suppose, a pretty careful situation here to get the angles right, so that it went into his mouth before it potentially went down the Jaws Titan's mouth, but, I suppose that's what we were meant to take from it. I maybe expected when they did this, there to be a little bit more of a moment in terms of something happening when he ingests, the Warhammer Titan, in that they focused in on him inside his Titan, and definitely with the sound effects, the sort of cue in the background, you just get like a kind of build up, a swell, and just something happens, like it worked. But there's no clear cut like his Titan changes in some way like immediately, or he's straight away he morphs into being like part Warhammer, part Attack Titan. None of that. So the question I suppose we have by the end of the episode is, it's now going to be Eren, I suppose, versus the Armored Titan, because Reiner gets up towards the end. Can he straight away use the Warhammer Titan powers, or is it going to take him some getting used to? I suppose he has practice with just the hardening on his body, so extending that into making objects perhaps won't be as difficult, especially if he uses it sort of like it was used already to just maybe make spikes or something like that to cause damage. Either way, this should be a pretty cool fight, whatever way it happens. Do I think it's going to be like a big, massive fight or what? Because the way they show the Armored Titan at the end, it is different than it sort of ever looked. It almost looks like it's the armor but for like attack almost, rather than being full-on defense. It also looks a little bit more human than it did before. Maybe that speaks to just Reiner's mindset here, or the only thing keeping him going here is the fact that he was brought back to activity basically by the fact that it was, Gabi and Falco calling out to him. to fight for them, basically. So Reiner kind of getting this sort of hero moment that sort of Eren has kind of had in the past, or like everyone rooting for like Eren, activate your Titan powers again. Reiner gets that sort of moment here, which was kind of cool to see. So the question here is like, is this meant to be some sort of a power-up or maybe a special ability of the Armor Titan we never really knew about before, that the armor can be different? And is this going to be any match for Eren? Because I think we've already seen at this point that Eren, based on like the last encounter, does have a slight advantage over Reiner as a combatant at this point. Now he's had even more skill and training, and he just seems so much better, Eren, at using his Titan, and he now has the Warhammer Titan. I don't see where this is necessarily going to be too big of a fight, but I also don't really see Eren consuming any more Titans here. I think he's kind of in a way got what he wanted from this, though probably one of the few chances he was maybe ever going to get the Warhammer Titan, he's got it. Whereas I suppose he knows he'll have his chance at the Jaw Titan, he'll have his chance at the Armored Titan somewhere else down the road. If he can get it here, fine, but overall it's not too big of a loss if he has to wait. So yeah, like Galliard is just completely out of action for now. I think he'll roughly get away with it here just because the fight is going to switch to Eren and Reiner. I suppose we'll see how he gets out of this, because he took quite a beating here from Mikasa and Eren. So what do the Marleyans, I suppose, really have left at this point after their whole fleet and most of their reinforcements were taken out by Armin? Pieck is out, Warhammer Titan is out, Jaw Titan is out of action at the moment. So it really is Reiner and some soldiers left for the most part. I'm assuming maybe something else will happen with Zeke, but again, there's a lot of questions surrounding Zeke. And I think that might lead into it, of just the fact that even what he said, like, Eren Yeager is not my enemy, and everyone's like, what are you saying? But then he's like, because the one I want to fight first is Levi, where are you? And then the fact that he says time as Levi's looking at a clock is like, are we meant to take something from this? Because I struggle to see Levi specifically working somehow in tandem with Zeke, because they seem to really hate each other last season. So I don't know. I still think there's something going on with Zeke, because we haven't come back around to the people who trapped Pieck and Porco down in that Titan trap. Basically, we haven't come back around to that character yet. Which at this point it doesn't seem like it's any of the scout members, so it either suggests that there's they have other people working for them, because when the airship comes in, and obviously Hanji's like the commander, they have someone we've never met before driving the airship, and it's what's the name? It's like Jakopan or something like that. I'm not sure, but he's the one driving the airship, and they haven't said obviously where he's from or not, but I'm guessing he's not from Paradis. So we'll see what the situation is there. Is he a Marleyan as well? Like, is it Zeke and some others that are helping here? But who knows? Because they have to make this look realistic, that the Beast Titan was actually taken out properly, and of course it was, because everyone knows Levi is strong enough to do this. We've seen him do it before, basically, already. Now it's happened again. What's really going on here? So this plan, I suppose, with the airship and the lights, this is where the lights probably get explained. These are meant to guide the way of the airship through Marley to, I suppose, go through the main areas of fighting, and the scouts are going to grapple up onto the airship, and that's how they're going to escape. Because Hanji notes that any stragglers will get left behind. So if you're not near the lights to grapple up onto the airship, that's going to be a bit of a problem. And I suppose because they're the only ones who use ODM gear, they're not really at too much risk of like other people jumping up onto the ship, because they've taken out most of the main weaponry from the Marley side of things. Which is why I think they're setting up that the next episode is called Assassin's Bullet, and the preview is suggesting that Gabby is going to shoot someone. Now, it's maybe a little bit blunt in terms of like what you're meant to take away from that. In that, the way I take it is that Gabby is going to kill a character we know. I don't see how it's going to happen any other way. So the question is who. I don't think the gun that she has is capable enough to like kill a Titan shifter. So it's not going to be Armin, and it's not going to be Eren. So who is it going to be? It's going to have to be one of the other named scouts. So your Johns, your Connies, your Sashas, those type of characters maybe. I perhaps don't think it's going to be John, just because they did give him that moment in this episode where he went in to finish off Pieck, and there was a slight hesitation, but he still went through with it, firing the Thunder Spear. And he kind of questions, like, the steam from the Titan came off and blew the Thunder Spear off course. Did that happen? Did his attack fail because it was just timed perfectly on their side, or was it him hesitating? And I suppose it's meant to be somewhat of a mix of the two, leaning more into Jean probably is a little bit shocked himself that he still maybe went ahead and fired the Thunder Spear. Maybe you can say, oh, it's because he fired it a fraction too late, but he still fired it. And I think that's meant to be a contrast to, was it at the start of season 2? Or... No, it would have been the start of season 3, was when they did the whole thing of like, it was the scouts have to fight people for the first time. And Jean was one of the ones they focused on very heavily in terms of, can he specifically bring himself to attack a fellow human? And he got himself at risk a few times because he was sort of unwilling to do it. So they're just playing off that a little bit, that I suppose Jean still has his own humanity. Like, he hasn't quite gone down the Eren and perhaps even Armin route of like just being completely willing to kill to get what they need. But Armin, I'm you definitely get a sense where like he is stunned by what he just did. That realizing like, wow, like Bertolt, like every time you transformed, you basically did this. Like Armin kind of gains a sort of level of respect in a way for Bertolt being able to just continue on having done this so many times. And this is his, I suppose the implication is he's trained before. This is probably not his first ever transformation into the Colossal Titan, but it's his first time, I suppose, just killing maybe that many people. Because I suppose this is how you explain how they talked in one of the earlier episodes about ships that they sent as like scouts to Paradis Island and they never came back. I'm guessing Armin, as the Colossal Titan, probably was the one who took them down. So that makes a bit of sense. But I do like the little dynamic between Hanji and Armin, where she just notes that like, this is your idea. It's pretty crazy. Like, have you been possessed by Erwin again or what? And Armin's just like, if that were so, that would be a good thing for us, because he was such a good leader. So Armin's still sort of adapting, I suppose, to being in more of a leadership position within the Scouts, as sort of the plan maker, sort of second in command almost to Hanji. So we'll see how this goes. I suppose the main question I have going to the next episode is just who signals the retreat? Like, what is the goal here? Because we don't fully know like just how planned out all of this is versus how much this is just Eren going on himself to make this happen, and then the others have been like forced to go along with it just so they don't lose Eren. So like, what forces Eren to retreat? Like, does Eren just grapple up onto the airship as well, or does someone have to take him onto the airship? That's kind of going to be a key point in terms of maybe like where exactly we're going. because they had a decent amount of it prepared. He was obviously sending letters, but the question probably is, did he force them to make a decision to come along because he just went ahead with it when maybe they weren't agreeing with it fully? It's hard to tell straight away, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I want to say about this episode. Obviously, like they're setting up, Gabi's going to do something in the next episode. Falco, I'm not too sure about. They, of course, had him give the information that something's up with Reiner, and then he and Gabi were the ones shouting for Reiner primarily. I don't really know what exactly they're going with him, but I think we do know he eventually has to become a Titan shifter at some point, because he was talking about like memories of basically being a scout. So I'm guessing that's going to have to happen at some point, but there doesn't obviously seem like there's going to be any sort of option for that to happen, because Pieck, I assume, will recover. I doubt they'll transfer the Cart Titan when they perhaps don't need to. Galliard is, I suppose, going to be okay, because Eren's going to be distracted by Reiner. The Beast Titan, I suppose, Zeke is a bit of a question in terms of, like, he kind of is, we kind of suspect that he's maybe working against Marley, but I doubt someone else will be the Beast Titan. Not really sure, but we'll see how that all goes. So yeah, very strong episode, and I'm excited for the episode next week as well. So there are my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.